Greetings, folks, and welcome to the CODEC Show. This is episode number 2 of the fall semester 2018. We are coming to you live from the beautiful campus of the College of DuPage here in Glen Ellen. We're actually on our 51st year of existence. I'm not 51 years old, so don't worry about that. But we have a live studio audience here for the Entrepreneurship Club. Let's get a hand for the live studio audience. So those of you who are watching on YouTube, again, welcome. Thank you for listening in. If you don't know the premise of the show, we are the Entrepreneurship Club here on the campus of COD, where we bring entrepreneurs to students, just so students can really get a feel for entrepreneurs, not just hearing the theory in the classroom, but also to touch it and be able to network with entrepreneurs, but then even also network amongst themselves for the benefit of their careers and their future businesses as well. Today is like no other. We have a special guest, and I'm super excited to have him. Before I even tell you about him, though, let me make sure I make a plug for our pitch contest, the COD Pitch Contest, which is happening during Global Entrepreneurship Week in November. So that would be November 14th, where the pitch contest is happening at about 4:30. It is open to the entire college campus, as well as the high school community around the college campus as well. Top prize is $2,000. Let me say that again, $2,000. Did I mention the second prize is $1,000? So we got some good money. Third prize is actually $500 scholarship. So first, second, or third, I'm happy with it. If you don't like the money, just let me know. So thank you again for coming in. We got a guest, Peter. Welcome to the show, Peter.
Thank you.
Hostrawser.
Hostrawser.
Hostrawser. Ooh, I'm getting better at it, man.
Pretty close.
Welcome to the College of DuPage, man.
Thank you. Beautiful here.
Awesome. It is a beautiful campus. Beautiful studio audience.
Yes, it is. Give it up for yourself.
Studio again.
All right, they're a little tired.
We like our studio audience to clap for sure as well.
Right.
Peter, man, welcome to COD, College of DuPage. You're not a stranger to this area, are you?
No, not at all.
Are you a Chicago native?
No, but I've been in Chicago for, let's see, it's been about 18 years now, 17 years.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So you might as well be a native.
Might as well, yeah.
Awesome.
I've been adopted.
Me too, man. Thank you guys for adopting me as well. So let's just get it kicked off right away. Tell us a little bit about yourselves, if you don't mind.
Right. So out of college, I got a bachelor's degree at Valparaiso University in broadcast journalism. So I know the guys behind the camera very well. That's what I used to do. But I came out of college and I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do.
Sure.
Through my path, actually, to get to my why here, I was at a senior in college and I was at an internship. And it was on radio. So I spent all this money, 4 years. I was privileged enough to have my grandfather, who is an entrepreneur, be able to pay for my college for me. So
nice.
It was nice. There are some bad things with that, but I'll talk about that later. But when we got to the internship, I was like, I don't want to do this. So that started my thinking process through everything. Bounced around, straight out of college, became a bartender, mowed greens, did all kinds of jobs, worked everywhere.
Sure.
Food business or whatnot. Then after I started my own business for a while, back in the day, we did some SVHS work on video production stuff.
Right.
And then got into actually teaching. So I come from a family of teachers.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know, right?
No, as a teacher, right?
My father did tell me, don't ever become a teacher. So I proved him wrong, didn't I? So
just like all kids, you got to go against what your parents say, right?
Exactly. I wish he said, don't become a billionaire, But basically,
then you wouldn't be here with me.
Well, you know what? I might. I might.
Okay. I got to get serious again. Sorry.
No, that's cool. So I got into high school teaching. I've been at it for about 17 years now, and throughout the years, I saw the economies change, the learning environments change, but I didn't see school changing. And so, as you all know, you probably went through a high school or even some of your college classes where it was like, why am I doing this? Why are we still doing what we're doing in 1950, 1940s or whatever? Everything looks the same, the rows and everything. So I got curious. And then I started my newest deal is Disrupt Education.
Disrupt Education.
Yeah.
So I love that. I love Disrupt Anything.
Yeah,
Those of
right.
you who know me, I'm all about disruption. But but let's even go back a little bit. Dive into maybe some of the detailed issues that might be wrong with the educational system as we know it today.
Right, right. Well, business is moving faster than education.
It is.
People hiring are moving faster than education.
Yeah.
So I've interviewed about 79 people to date. My goal is to get to 100. And just listening and hearing their stories and most of them are recent grads or in high school still, or some people involved in education. The commonalities that I'm finding, where the problems are, is networking. You are all here today networking. That's a big deal.
Absolutely.
But a lot of people at the younger age, or even some people in here, don't really understand what that means. So that's something that is not a graduation requirement. Social media. Nobody in high school, I shouldn't say nobody, many teachers in high school hate social media because that's where your attention is. That's not being properly taught. It's a good thing if you know how to use it and not be used by it. So that's another commonality. Another piece is an online portfolio and understanding how you can show your learning outside of a test score. And then outside of grades. So those are the commonalities in education that I'm seeing, and I've seen this for years. I graduated way back, I won't even tell you the year, but even then I didn't know why I was doing these things in high school. And there are reasons, I just wasn't taught those reasons.
Sure. I love that. I love that idea. You mentioned you interview. Where do you interview folks at?
Anywhere and everywhere.
Okay, cool. You have a podcast or a video?
Yeah, I have a YouTube channel called Disrupt Education, and then a podcast. I pull the audio over into a podcast, Disrupt Education. You can find it pretty much on any podcast.
Awesome. So we got to make sure that we give some cues, some shout outs to your your stuff there, your podcast as well as your videos as well. So that's the background on what education is still probably today. But now, what is your aim, your goal with Disrupt Education? What is your focus more or less?
As I'm generating that vision, and honestly, about less than a month ago, I came up with the vision, and the vision is kind of a gap year program. Many of you are in community college because you're trying to figure out, okay, I don't want to spend the big dollars to go into the next level and understand what that is. Some of you are forced in there financially. Some people just want to go to community college and figure it out. The gap year program is to fill those pieces with networking, to put in a little bit of entrepreneurship in there, to try to formulate ideas, have people test them out, so then they get a real sense of that. But my main goal is to have people who are interested. Now, I came out of high school sort of interested in something. My freshman year, I got interested in radio. But I thought I was just going to be the biggest DJ, me, and then there was Howard Stern and all these other people, right? But that didn't really work that way because I didn't really realize what it was about. So I want to expose people to that in this gap year program. So that's what Disrupt Education is forming up to be.
Nicely. Hey folks, I'm hogging all the questions here, and I know you guys are living education as we speak, so please, I want to open up the floor a little bit to some questions from the studio audience. We got that guy back there with the weird guy. Yes, sir.
You mentioned that it was a gap year program. I wouldn't say that's necessarily like a niche market, but have you thought about opening it up to people who have other obligations, like maybe they do want to stay in school, maybe they have a job, and other things like that?
Absolutely. Flexibility is what I'm looking at, right? I'm looking even high schoolers that are still in high school and then beyond. Right now, I don't know where those tokens are going to fall. I don't know if I'm going to get a market here, market there. But I'm a guy, and you're going to hear this a lot, is once I have an idea of what I want to do, I'm going to test and fail fast. So that's a great idea, and I really appreciate that because that flexibility is very important in the lives of people.
And that's a huge question. Actually, that is a very good question, Brody. Fail fast. Those of you who've ever talked to me, you've heard me say that jump in and give yourself the opportunity to fail because when you'll learn from those failures how to do better as soon as that failure has passed. Yes, sir. I had a question over here.
I was just wondering, how did you take the initial leap from idea to just doing it?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you for asking that one. I was teaching at a school that I'm not at right now, and I saw students in the hallways. I saw students in my classrooms who were doing some pretty amazing things. I was teaching amazing things, I thought, and I was connecting people, but I saw students burnt out. I saw a lot of students, and that pain actually proceeded beyond my comfort level of staying as a teacher. So that's when I decided to jump. And I got a great story on that, by the way, in the Fail Fast.
Please, yeah.
I created a website, and I still have it. It's disrupteducation.co, or now it's also peterhostrawser.com. And those first couple of weeks, I was like, all right, here, I'm going to change the education system. I'm going to do this. Me, just me, right? Because I'm Superman in my own head. And I had everything up. I designed the website. I knew how to do it on Weebly. I bought the .com and all these other things out there. Sure. And when I did that, about 2 weeks into it, I'm sitting there and I'm blogging, like throwing, bombs on the education system, like we need to do this, we need to do that, pat myself on the back. I'm like, yes, it's going, man. A friend of mine, actually a college roommate of mine, contacted me on LinkedIn and said, I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news, but it looks like disrupt is spelled wrong on your webpage. So I was like, punch to the gut, first one, because you're going to get a lot of those. So I brought it up, and I'm just scrolling. I'm looking everywhere. I'm like, I don't see it anywhere. What, And this was actually one of my previous business partners. Great guy. Try to be friends after you go into business with somebody. It's very difficult. But so I'm scrolling. I can't find anywhere. And then all of a sudden, I look up right at the title, DISTRUPT. Disrupt education. At that moment, I had an epiphany. I could either climb back, put my head in the sand, and just do my teaching for the rest of my life, or change it and move on. And I change it and move on, and I actually very proudly say that story because those first couple of steps are the hardest. And so that pain of seeing students just doing the same thing over and over and over again and just walking like zombies through the hallway surpassed it.
I was talking to a student right before this, and I also told him, I said, hey, jump in now.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard, but jump in right now. And it's hard to jump in now because you're going to think it's not the right time. But as I tell everybody, it's never the right time to start this thing as well. And he said, you're right, because I've been thinking for a while that I'm not prepared.
Yeah.
And that's, but you jumped in, kudos to you, and failing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Making mistakes and then having to move forward with them as well. More questions from the audience as well about disrupt education. Gotta be some questions. Yes, sir, back there.
Is it just a blog, or do you go out to schools as well?
So yes and yes. Right now I'm building that, right? And as a matter of fact, we just had a conversation about where I can put my name out on a free speaking list so I can work with that. I'm looking at doing some PD, professional development, and things like that. Schools, government entities move like glaciers, right? So it's very hard to change something really quick in a school. One of my favorite authors of all time is Sir Ken Robinson. So if anybody gets a chance to read that book, any of his books, The Element, Creative Schools is the one. He said there's 3 ways to change an educational system. The first one is to bring it ground up inside. It's the slowest and most likely not going to work. The second thing is to tear the whole thing down and rebuild it. No one's got money to do that. And then the third thing is actually to start something outside, and that's where my entrepreneurship spirit's going. I would like to get into more schools, but I'm leaning towards building something like that gap year program or that flexible learning program outside the school system to disrupt from outside.
Who is your target market? As you think about unfolding this thing, and you got that gap year, but are the students the target market? Are their parents the target market, or is it the school system from your perspective?
Right. From my is the students and parents.
Okay.
Yeah. If you are, and I probably get by a lot of nods here. By your junior year in high school, you're pretty much done with high school, other than doing all those crazy tests and all that. Your English paper and all those big things that come at that level, right? So that's where I'm going to start my target. Is that the correct target? I don't know yet.
Right.
We'll see. But yes, those and the parents, and I already have some parents in line to say, you know what, I'd rather spend $2,000 to $3,000 a year on my kids to understand something before I dump $15,000 to $50,000 on an education that they aren't really focused on. So,
Absolutely. Good stuff. Good stuff.
thank you for the question.
You know, in any business, and yours is tough. I'm a big proponent of that our education system needs to change from grade school all the way up to higher education. I think the model of A's, B's, C's, and D's and F's is not necessarily the best way. I think standardized testing is not necessarily the best way. It just needs shifting from top to bottom. But it's an antiquated system that, like you just mentioned here, is not changing anytime soon, primarily because of the amount of money that's being made in that system.
Absolutely.
So as most of you know, mom and dad sit here and tell you, go to college and get a great job. That's the message. That's the message many of us are doing it, right? And don't get me wrong, we are here at a college, so I'm not bashful to talk about it. Mom and dad pretty much don't even want you to go to a community college. They want you to go to a 4-year, because that's just the thing to do, right? So how do you change that in the mind of society as a whole? How does this message about disrupting it, just shifting education, continue to get chipped away at? Is just the parents and the kids, or is it even more than that?
That's a great question. It goes back to the old adage, and I don't know who said it, but you know, how do you eat an elephant? Well, you cut it up in small pieces, right?
Right.
So what I'm looking for are wins, right? My early adopters, I'm going to bring them through, and I'm going to give them anything and everything that they need to succeed. And then if they go to a college, or if they don't, whatever that success looks like, and then it just starts growing. There's a few students that I know. You know, one of them who's my web designer. Shout out to Dan Bevan. Went to DePaul University for 8 weeks, I think, and said, "No, this isn't for me."
Yeah, right.
And now he runs a fairly successful, still failing forward, website company out of the city. His push was to move him out of his own parents' house. And he's like, I can't work here, I can't be here, I need to be downtown. And he taught himself. He taught himself Webflow, he taught himself Bubble, he taught himself all these things, which leads to probably one of the other questions is where we're going to find education. It's everywhere. I mean, look at the device in your pocket, it's there, right? So Udemy and all these different things. You know, I'm not saying college is bad. That's a message that I want to get out there. I mean, I'm not saying that because I'm sitting in one. I'm saying that because it has its place. If you're focused and you understand what you're doing and you want to build a network that way, by all means do it, right? You know, I know several people have gotten positions and actually in their foot in the door because they've understood how to take their education in a formalized system and also network.
Maximize it,
Right.
absolutely.
A lot of students, though, will come out because they're thinking like my parents thought. I don't know about your parents, but they were like, you walk out of college, man, there's going to be 18 offers on your, and it's not like that anymore.
Everybody hear that? Just making sure. College does not mean you automatically make $1 million.
Right.
Just making sure you know that as well.
You will pay $1 million, maybe. So.
As a matter of fact, when students come to my class and they say, hey Pete, should we, I want to start a business, so I want to take your entrepreneurship class. I tell them, well, if you're serious about entrepreneurship, don't take my class. Why? Because if you really want to make that money to grow that business, then don't come into my class and worry about an A, B, or C, because it'll distract you from making money for your business.
Right.
So you have to kind of ask yourself, what is it about? Is it about getting the education that you need for life, or is it about growing this business right now as we speak as well? More questions from the studio audience. Yes, sir.
Where do you see your business in 10 years?
That's good. That's a long way. I like to look at my my business in 1, 3, and 5 years. In 5 years, I want a full-blown program going. In 1 year, I would like to have it LLC'd up a little bit better. I got to do that. And then actually have a place and possibly some early adopter clients. In 3 years, you know, still working it out, but full-blown in 5 years.
Yeah.
How do you plan to pay for it? How do you profit from it?
Right.
And what can one do to join?
Other people's money. Actually, yeah, what I want to do is, so you all went down to 1871 today. I want to do a subscription model like that. Have a physical place, a digital place as well. So basically, I don't know numbers yet, but I would put out, $200 a month. You could be part of this community, right? You can show up, and then on different nights, it's kind of a co-working, co-educational space is what I'm looking at. And that's, what's that? Like a WeWork, yeah. WeWork, I'm big fans of WeWork because of what they're doing with some of their stuff that they did with Adam Braun and Mission U. So if you guys want to look at what Mission U is doing, they're turning college on its head, which I'll talk about that whenever. But yeah, something like that. But my focus is actually on those skills that are being missed and will not be in a high school for at least 5 years, because I know how hard it is to move classes and curriculum forward in a high school, because I've been in that system for 17 years. So, investors, I don't know yet. So I'm looking for people who understand like buildings and places and all that stuff. What I'm learning right now is I can't do it alone. You can't do it alone. So
let's stay on that. So
Yeah.
who's in? That's a good question as well.
Yeah,
but
thank
who's
you.
in your circle? Who are you leaning on for guidance? Maybe some people, some mentors, some people that you are maybe patterning this afterwards to a
Right.
certain extent, indirectly maybe.
Sure, yeah. Well, there's so many people. The people I hang out with, I have a very small group of people who I really hang out with, and actually you're in that circle,
Hey.
right? And he's a great chef, by the way, on the grill. I will tell you
Hey.
guys that.
Shout out to my wife, too.
Yeah, right. Oh, unbelievable. Yeah, I don't want to get you in trouble,
Yeah, I
man. But some good food. That's actually how we met. So my circle are people who believe in my why. All right, I'm another Simon Sinek fan. If you know your why are you doing your what, and then you start your how, right? So basically, the people who are around me are some of the people are my graduated students who were in my class, and actually I would think they were lazy in high school, and now they're running some small business, they're out there hustling, they're online. I'm a huge Gary Vee fan. I wish I could curse like Gary Vee in a classroom, but I can't. But those are the people that I'm working with, and I'm constantly asking them questions. One of my students who just graduated from Iowa State, he is fashion industry, did an internship at Esquire, but he needs to build his network, and actually he's working on some apparel for me. So I'm just like, let's go. But what they are, the people will believe the why so much. I'm not making money right now, so they're not making money, but it's a movement, right? It's a side hustle. You got the book right there. Sure. But those are the things that's my crew. That's my crew. And people like you, like we had a conversation, like I said, right before this, and the nugget that I took today is I have a place to go right now and sign up and see if I can make even more connects. Yeah. So, very important.
More questions?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So what kind of things or real world applications would I learn if I took your class?
So you're going to learn networking, understanding how to really network, how to meet people. I'll just give it away right now. So if you meet the person who's in your industry that is like your hero, you should have 2 answers to them asking you, how can I help you? So if it was me and Gary Vee was sitting across me and said, how can I help you? I would have 2 answers right away. Number 1 is like, I want to interview him for education. And number 2, I would like to build an disrupt education under a Gary Vee Vaynerchuk piece. So those are my 2 answers, right? But I've seen it time and time again where people with the keys, the door, the cars, everything are standing in front of a student and they're like, I have no idea. Yeah, I don't have anything right now. Right, to have that always on your mind. The other thing is building your not only your network, but building your online presence, right? What are you doing on social media, right? Everything that you do, once you find your why, and part of that would be, depending on where you're at, is finding your why, is how do I stay with my why, stay consistent, and I'm going to constantly post things across the board. I'm going to be on anything from old school Facebook all the way into the new Twitch and all these different things that are happening, right? And by the way I learned that stuff, my 13-year-old son, right? Who actually taught himself how to 3D print, and I was very, very happy about that. So what I did is I took him, and I'm practicing with my own kids. I would not do this without my own kids. I took him to a library meeting, And there was a bunch of old dudes in there, all right? One guy was like a Harley rider, he had the big thing, and I was like, oh boy. And here, me and my 13-year-old son is in there, and my 13-year-old son's like looking around. By the end of that, he got the guts to stand up and tell them about a program he was using to 3D model things, because he just does it up in his room. And instead of me as a parent saying, get off that computer, get outside, I was like, what are you doing there? How can I help you? What can we build? And so he 3D printed a little muffler for his remote control car for 75 cents and learned through that process. So that's, building those things up. So it almost depends on the individual, but those are the things that you're going to get out of it.
And it sounds like even with your son, he just dove right in. He didn't
Right.
think about it, he just dove right in.
Right.
And man, that's many of our issues here, as I mentioned earlier, just diving in
Curious.
and failing fast and making those mistakes. The other thing that I love that you just mentioned, of course, is the networking thing does not have to be always awkward. It's not, hey, I'm Peter, here's my card.
Right, right.
But it's almost knowing how to carry on a nice conversation.
Yeah.
So let me flip it for you and say how, and let you know how it looks like in an interview. At the end of your interview, when your prospective boss is asking you, so do you have any questions for me? If you say, no, don't have anything, how does that look versus the next individual who has a list of 3 questions there for that prospective boss? Who's more engaged? Who's more interested in that job if we're talking about jobs? So that's how you kind of have to know. And I think when you have that networking skill set, when you have that conversational skill set, you're more apt to be able to answer some of those questions, whether it is in an interview or it is just in a networking environment as well.
Right.
This has been great. I got one final question for you because it looks like, oh no,
Yeah,
someone's interrupting here.
No, that's okay. That's
Danae,
good.
yes.
Okay, so I want to know what ideas you have to kind of replace the standardized grading system.
Right. I don't.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a good piece.
Good question.
I don't think I'll be able to do that. I've seen different models. I've seen a badging system. So you get so many badges or certifications as you go through a class. So you got 14 badges in XYZ class. You got 18. It's not a race, but it's just, this is how far this person can go in an amount of time. I've seen that. I like that system somewhat. It has its flaws. I've seen a numbering system. You have a 1, 2, 3, but all that is just facading a grade, really. Honestly, in a high school, it's very tough. I tend to lean outside of a high school. So what success means for me is, what are your goals up front, and what can I do for you? And then once you reach those goals, it's cyclical. What's the next step? What's the next step? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there is a one silver bullet answer for that, but that's a great question. There's a lot of studies behind that.
Danae, I don't think, and let me piggyback on that a little bit. I don't think the standardized test score or a grade should define anybody here.
Hey, I can attest to that.
Yeah.
You're looking at a 790 SAT right here.
Yeah.
That means I barely spelled my name right on that test. Okay. So, and I'm not ashamed of saying it. I wrote a blog. I put it out there.
Yeah.
Could I probably have learned more through that? Yes, I could have. All right. If I would go back, I would probably do things a little bit differently. But I'm not going back. I'm not going that way. So here I am, 790. Whatever. I'm teaching students. I'm enjoying my life. I'm doing what I'm doing.
I always tell a story in my classes that I have too much education behind me. And in all my education, whenever I go into an interview, no one has ever asked me about my GPA.
Right.
I'm kind of pissed off about that,
Yeah.
man.
Hey, what was your GPA?
Thank you, man. I was 3.45.
All right, way higher than I was. Good.
But you're going to give me a job?
No.
Okay. Anyway. So I got.
Actually, yes.
Yes, absolutely. This is it, right?
Right.
Yeah, but I don't. Going back to what I said.
That's a great question.
The grade should never define you and should never dictate what your success is going to look like in the future. You are not your grade. Should you work hard in school? Absolutely. But you are not your grade. What you make of yourself after that is on you. It's really on you.
I know 4.0 students who know nothing. It's true.
I know PhDs who don't have a job.
Oh yeah, right.
Right,
So
we won't go into that.
all right.
Last question for you though. and I ask all of our guests who come here, it's a super great question. So if you were sitting where our students are right now, if you were college age again, knowing then what you know now, what would you tell your old self, or in this case, of course, our student body here?
Right, that's a great question.
Super huge, yeah.
If I had if I had the technology that you guys have, it would be way different, right? And I don't want to be the grumpy old man.
are.
My day,
We are.
we had stone tablets. That's an old Saturday Night Live skit. I don't know if you remember that.
Do we
one.
remember that?
Well, you and I would. But, I would network like crazy. I would try things. I would get out. I was in Valparaiso. I came to Chicago 3 times in those 4 years.
Wow.
That's dumb. All right, I would get into different areas, find people, ask questions, and understand, okay, actually I would listen more, right? I think one of the biggest things that we all want to do once we're in college, we're in college, we want to tell everybody, this is the education I'm getting and I want to show it to you. But actually, that's less powerful than actually listening to people and asking that question, where did you get, what was your path? What got you into this industry? What could a person like me go into your industry? How would that path look? So those questions would be more and more things that I would do at the college level.
Awesome.
And just, you know what, like time manage, right?
Yeah.
Every single second. You're looking at a guy who has 2 podcasts, a vlog, I blog, I teach a full load, I'm a department chair, I'm over 6, 7 people, or not over, and we're all a team. All these different things. And I actually had a student last year ask me, how do you put out so much content and all that? I don't waste 1 minute. I do not waste 1 minute. So that one point where I feel like I want to fall asleep or you know, that's not 10 o'clock at night or whatever, I am doing something, right? And I also have a wife and 2 kids that I'm working with, and I bring them into my world, but I also have to take time and be in their worlds as well. So network and maximize your time. You all don't have hopefully, any like mortgages or any big things yet. Some of you might be parents and those types of things, so you understand those challenges,
yeah.
right? But if you're young and you got nothing in front of you, you're free, make it happen. Jump out.
And if you live at home with mom and dad, make it happen.
Yeah, right.
Make it happen, because you're not paying rent yet.
Yeah.
Or you might be, but you know what I mean.
Right,
So as
right.
well. This right here too is a blessing or a curse.
Right.
Meaning that you can be the one who is the receiver of content or the producer of it. Who do you choose to be?
Right.
Right? Most of us choose to watch all day long and not produce. I choose to be producer. So now we're challenging you now in this model. What are you waiting for as well?
Exactly.
Let's give Peter a hand, folks.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And folks in YouTube world, thank you so much for listening to another episode of the CODEC Show, 2nd episode of the semester. Look forward to having you next go around. In the meantime, pursue your passions beginning today. Thank you.